The Millers Association of Zambia, MAZ, it came in, Andrew Chintala, who is the president, saying these milling plants or these millers, they are subjected to routine checkup.
Look, IP, the beauty of analysis is that a story of this nature, you don't look at it from a singular lens point of view.
Right.
You have to look at it from different angles.
Right.
One of the angles, first of all, is milling meal. At the moment, first of all, we know that milling meal is our staple food as a nation.
Yeah.
But milling meal is not the cheapest at the moment. Milling meal is fetching as high as 400 in certain places. Now, to think that milling meal that is costing in excess of 300 and 400 should also be contaminated. I spend so much money to buy that same milling meal, and now it poses a risk to me. The temptation number one is to throw away that milling meal and begin to think twice if I'll ever buy milling meal again. So the ramifications are that potentially milling meal sales going forward are going to plummet, but the people will have to weigh options. Should I throw away the milling meal or not buy milling meal? Should I start eating rice and pasta and kandolo and bread? Will that be enough to hold my stomach? It is now a battle between tradition and the reality of survival. Can also the budget allow you to begin to eat these other foods other than milling meal? Because milling meal, once you cook kanshima, you eat it, it will take you good hours before you can think of eating. The rest of the other foodstuffs, you will need to continuously be eating. The cost of living, which is already high, is not going to allow you to keep eating here and there. So people will have to weigh the options of either just eating this same milling meal which is contaminated and risk it. Let's eat and die. That will probably be the mindset.
It's a puzzle, right?
It's a puzzle. So this is where we are. The next question is, where did contaminated maize come from that all 9 milling companies should have contaminated maize? Did it come from FRI? Probably not. Maybe it came from the imported. Now, when you look at imported, we were celebrating, oh, Burundi has given us maize. Oh, America has given us maize. Oh, there's maize that is being imported from where? From someone whispered to me and said, there is a security issue here. And this is a matter that the government may need to begin to take interest in. Everyone knows that the government went public and said, we have a drought and we are asking for food relief. Is there someone out there who, in the name of donating food, doesn't like this government so much that they can allow contaminated food to come, knowing that that contaminated food will affect the citizens, and the ripple effect will be citizens will be upset? There is a security issue here, because the world knows that Zambia is starving.
6 million Zambians.
And as we are starving, have we taken precautions to make sure that we vet the kind of maize that is coming into the country that is fit for human consumption? Have we taken that into account? If we haven't, then we are sleeping on duty. An enemy can sneak in maize that is contaminated deliberately. If it is not deliberate, then the government is sleeping. You cannot have 9 milling companies, 9 brands, all of them contaminated. It has not happened from maize that came from food reserve agents. In years, it has never happened. Why is it happening now? Where did this maize come from? If we can answer that question, we are close to solving this puzzle, but it is not good. We can't be talking about 400 dogs dead. How many more human beings are carrying that toxin in their bodies? I hosted on State of the Nation Dr. Canisius Band. He said most of these things. He talked about the economic impact, and he talked about the health effect of these things. So, and there's also a ramification politically. It can hurt the political fortunes of the government in power. So the government must act, and act very swiftly over this matter. We shouldn't treat it with kids' gloves. We need to investigate where this contamination is coming from.
I'm quite tempted to give you maybe a minute to both of you. I know that, Ambassador, you would want to come in. But this being a very, a big story that borders on our staple food, Ambassador and PK, do we learn lessons, or have we learned lessons as a country? I think I did mention in one of my analysis during the breakfast shows, I did mention that for me, I'm not comfortable to see USA or the Vice President really flagging off that donation coming from the USA. And my justification has always been, in 2002, I remember, it was 2002, during the Mundia Scarton as a Minister of Agriculture, he refused to get maize from USA in form of relief or donation.
Indeed.
Why should this time around accept that kind of maize, Ambassador?
But IP, to begin with, what the Vice President did was embarrassing. Parading herself before the cameras and food relief from the United States of America. It was a total embarrassment. And Madam Vice President, you must stop doing this. How do you parade yourself in front of cameras, accepting and rejoicing over food donations, when just 3 years ago you had more than 1.4 million metric tons of maize in your stocks? You sold, you exported that maize, and then you are celebrating handouts. It's embarrassing. You got to stop it, And then the example that IP has already put forward, in 2002, USAID tried to give us some GMO food, and President Levi Mwanawasa, may his soul rest in peace, and now that of his wife, refused. And I remember that.
And USA, remember, they got upset. When
they got upset. USAID director, I was an active journalist then for Bloomberg and the Independent Foreign Service, IPS, including the New York Times. I was writing stories for those. Anthony Morris actually was so upset about Zambia. And he said, he described, I still remember these words, says the Zambian government are like, that guy who looks a gift horse in the mouth. You're looking a gift horse. It's like you're starving and I'm throwing crumbs over you, and then crumbs therefore a steak, and yet you are a beggar. But that is the situation where we had reached. So the bigger story you said a minute is let us learn. The science was available that we were going to have a drought. And the science was available that we needed to keep those 1.4 million metric tons of maize that we sold for a dry day, and we did it. President Hakainde Hichilema, Honorable Mutolo Piri, we sold maize. If we hadn't sold that maize, we would not be discussing aflatoxin. Some of us are even biting our tongues right now, trying to pronounce some words we can't even understand, like aflatoxin or that kind of thing. We sold maize. We should have not sold the maize.